In 1951, a man was said to have appeared out of thin air in the middle of New York City. He was killed shortly afterward, but when officials searched his body, what puzzled them most wasn't where he came from, but when, on a warm summer evening in June 1951, the bustling streets of New York City suddenly came to a standstill. Onlookers were shocked when a man, apparently in his late 20s, seemed to materialize out of nowhere. Witnesses claimed he looked completely out of place and out of time. His hairstyle was about 70 years out of date, his face partly obscured by large mutton-chop sideburns, and his clothing matched styles popular in the mid-1800s. People nearby reported that he appeared distressed and confused by his surroundings. Suddenly, he panicked and ran into the street. Less than a minute later, he was struck by a passing car and killed instantly. As strange as his sudden appearance was, what officials found in his pockets was even stranger. Among his belongings were a copper token worth 5 cents for a beer from a saloon unknown even to the city's oldest residents, a bill for horse care and carriage washing from a stable once located on Lexington Avenue, but long gone from any address book, about $70 in old banknotes, business cards with the name Rudolph Fentz and an address on Fifth Avenue, a letter addressed to him from Philadelphia, dated June 1876. Even more bizarre, none of these items showed signs of age. The letter, supposedly 75 years old, looked practically new. The case was handed to NYPD Captain Hubert V. Rim of the Missing Persons Department. Using the details, he began his investigation. His first stop was the Fifth Avenue address listed on the business card, but the current resident had never heard of a Rudolph Fentz. Making things even harder, the man's fingerprints weren't on record, his name wasn't in any directory, and no one had reported him missing. Eventually, Rim found mention of a Rudolph Fentz Jr. in a 1939 telephone book. That address led him to a middle-aged couple who recalled the previous resident, a man in his 60s who had retired around 1940 before moving away. This lead allowed Rim to trace Fentz Jr.'s old bank account, and records showed he had died in 1946. But his widow was still alive, living in Florida. When Rim spoke with her, she revealed something astonishing. Her husband's father, Rudolph Fentz Sr., had disappeared without a trace in 1876 at the age of 29. He had simply gone out for an evening walk and never returned. So what really happened? Did Rudolph Fentz somehow slip through time, vanishing in 1876 only to reappear in 1951? For decades, the story was reported as fact. But in 2001, folklore researcher Chris Aubeck investigated and found no newspaper articles from 1951 mentioning the case. He also uncovered no evidence that a man named Rudolph Fentz had ever existed. Then in 2002, another researcher, Pastor George Murphy, discovered that the tale had first appeared as a short story in the September 1951 issue of Collier's magazine, in a series titled I'm Scared. The author? None other than renowned science fiction writer Jack Finney. What was once told as a chilling true story, it seems, was actually a work of fiction all along. So, the strange case of Rudolph Fentz was finally put to rest as nothing more than an urban legend, or so everyone thought. No original copies of the Fentz episode have ever been found, and Jack Finney, the author to whom the tale was credited, died in 1995 before he could be questioned about it. But then, in 2007, another twist emerged. A researcher working at the Berlin News Archive discovered a newspaper article from April 1951 reporting the Fentz story exactly as we know it today, 5 months before Finney's short story was supposedly published. Even more intriguing, other researchers have since claimed to have uncovered evidence of the real Rudolph Fentz, including proof of his disappearance in 1876 at the age of 29. So, could the Jack Finney connection as author actually have been a cover-up disguising the truth as mere fiction? On the other hand, if this evidence exists, why has no one stepped forward with solid proof? The most likely explanation is that the story of Rudolph Fentz is completely fabricated. Still, many are far too quick to dismiss it simply because they believe time travel is impossible, when in fact, the opposite is true. In the world of physics, some subatomic particles naturally move both backward and forward through time. And in the macroscopic world, It has been demonstrated that time travel, particularly forward time travel, as Fentz supposedly experienced, is absolutely possible. This is not just theory, but scientific fact. A person could travel forward in time simply by moving faster than those around them. Of course, to notice any measurable difference, they would need to move at phenomenal speeds. So if there is truth to this tale, how could Rudolph Fentz have leapt 75 years into the future, when the fastest mode of transportation in his day, a steam train, could barely reach 60 miles per hour? Did he accidentally slip through a crack in time during his evening stroll? History is full of strange accounts of time slips, where people suddenly find themselves transported into another era, though most return to their own time unharmed, until an intact copy of Jack Finney's supposed story is uncovered, or until undeniable evidence surfaces that Rudolph Fentz truly existed, or even a genuine clipping of a 1951 news report. The mystery remains. Whether fact or fiction, the tale of Rudolph Fentz will forever linger as one of the most curious time travel stories ever told.